Hathor, goddess of love. Imagine love. The video begins with an ethereal scene, bathed in soft golden light, evoking the presence of Hathor, the ancient Egyptian goddess of love. A serene melody plays in the background as the camera slowly zooms in on a statue or depiction of Hathor, with her iconic headdress adorned with a sun disk and cow horns. The scene sets a tranquil, divine tone, inviting viewers to connect with the timeless essence of love and compassion that Hathor represents. The narration gently introduces her, inviting viewers to imagine the warmth and beauty of love in all its forms. Picture yourself as a bird, light and free, with wings spread wide as you glide effortlessly through the air. Imagine you are flying over a lush, vibrant glade in the heart of ancient Egypt. Below you, the Nile stretches out like a ribbon of life, nourishing the land. Surrounding you is a vast expanse of emerald green, punctuated by the vivid blues of water and the rich browns of the earth. As you soar higher, feel the warmth of the sun on your feathers and the gentle breeze that lifts you with ease. There is a harmony here, a perfect balance between the sky above and the earth below. With each beat of your wings, you feel more connected to the elements, a part of the world's natural rhythm. Dive lower to skim over the top of the Nile, watching as the sunlight sparkles on the surface like countless diamonds in motion. The air is filled with the fresh scent of water mingled with the earthy aroma of the fertile banks. Hear the soft sounds of the river, the rustle of the reeds, and the distant calls of other creatures that make their home along this life-giving river. Turn your wings toward a beautiful glade nearby, lush and inviting. As you enter the glade, notice the variety of trees, their branches stretching toward the sun, leaves whispering secrets of the ancient land. The colors are more vivid here, the air richer, and every breath you take fills you with peace. Glide down to perch on a sturdy branch of a grand old tree that offers a commanding view of the glade. From this vantage point, you can see everything: the dance of small animals on the forest floor, the flutter of insects in the air, and the gentle sway of flowers in the breeze. As the sun begins to set, casting golden hues across the land, you notice a group gathering below. Among them are figures who shine with an ethereal light, gods walking among mortals. They come together in harmony, their voices blending with the natural sounds of the glade, creating a symphony of whispers and laughter. Rest here on your branch, a silent observer of this rare and magical meeting. Feel the privilege of witnessing such a moment, where the divine and the earthly mingle freely. Let the tranquility of the scene fill you, the peace of the glade envelop you. And it is here, at this meeting of gods and mortals, that our story begins. In the heart of the sacred grove, time seemed to stand still. The towering trees, with their thick trunks and wide branches, formed a canopy above. The light filtering through cast a golden glow on everything it touched. Leaves rustled softly, their movement blending with the sweet song of birds hidden in the treetops. A gentle breeze carried the scent of wild flowers, cool and soothing, as it danced along the grove's edge. At the center of this tranquil sanctuary sat Hathor, the goddess of music and love. She was calm, poised, and nurturing. Her eyes reflected a deep well of wisdom that had spanned the ages. Around her, a semicircle of eager students gathered, goddesses, spirits, and mortals alike, all with their instruments resting in their laps, awaiting her guidance. Hathor was not only a teacher of music but of harmony itself. Her every movement gentle and deliberate, as if she was in perfect tune with the world around her. The grove felt alive in her presence, an extension of her power, a space where peace, joy, and balance thrived. Hathor sat before her students, and smiled warmly at them. With a graceful movement, she raised her sistrum, the delicate instrument shimmering in the filtered sunlight. As she shook it gently, a soft, rhythmic jingling filled the air. It wasn't just a sound, it was a pulse, a heartbeat that connected everything. Listen closely, Hathor began, her voice as soothing as a lullaby. Music is not just something you play. It's something you feel, something that flows through everything, through you, through the trees, through the very air we breathe. Her students sat in rapt attention, their instruments resting in their laps. A young goddess held a golden harp, her fingers poised to pluck the strings. A spirit beside her cradled a flute, the silver instrument gleaming softly. Hathor continued. Every note you play, every breath you take while playing your flute, or every stroke on the harp's strings, is a reflection of the cosmos itself, an echo of the balance between creation and destruction, light and darkness. Music is woven into the very fabric of the universe, much like our lives. She paused, her eyes sweeping over her students, catching the slight furrow of brows as some struggled to grasp the concept. Hathor smiled gently and picked up the sistrum once more. Let me show you. With a nod, she motioned to one of the students to begin playing her harp. The student hesitated for a moment, then plucked a string. The sound was pure, though unsure, as if it lacked something deeper. Hathor tilted her head, listening with care. Do you hear it? She asked, her tone encouraging. Your fingers are creating sound, yes, but they must also create harmony. Close your eyes, feel the music. Feel the world around you. Let it guide your hands. The student closed her eyes, her fingers hovering over the strings once more. This time, when she played, the sound was different, richer, fuller, as if the grove itself had joined in the melody. A soft breeze swept through the trees, and Hathor nodded approvingly. That, she whispered, is the essence of music. It is more than notes, more than sound. It is balance, harmony, life itself. The grove seemed to hum in response, as if agreeing with her words. The students sat silently, absorbing the wisdom she offered, realizing that the lesson wasn't just about mastering an instrument, but about understanding how music mirrors the balance of all things. As the students played, their music mingling with the sounds of the grove, a subtle shift began to ripple through the air. The warm, golden sunlight that had bathed began to dim. A cool breeze swept in. Overhead, the once clear sky was now dotted with dark clouds. The change wasn't drastic, but it was enough to cause a few students to pause, their eyes lifting toward the sky with concern. Hathor sensed the shift immediately. She straightened in her chair, her gaze calm as she glanced toward the horizon. The light was beginning to dim, the air growing just a touch heavier. She knew what this meant. Ra's temper was stirring, his restlessness beginning to spread across the heavens. The students, however, did not fully understand. They exchanged quiet, uncertain glances. The change worried them. We will end our lesson here for today, she said softly, her voice as soothing as ever. She stood, her eyes gentle as she reassured the group. Remember what we have learned. Music brings balance, and balance will always be restored. As the last of her students gathered their instruments and left the grove, the peaceful hum that had filled the air began to dissipate, replaced by an unsettling stillness. Hathor remained where she stood, her eyes fixed on the sky as the dark clouds thickened. A low rumble of thunder rolled across the heavens, faint but unmistakable. Hathor's heart stirred with unease. This was not the first time Ra had let his temper flare, but each time it happened, it seemed to worsen. Ra's fury was gathering strength, and soon it would spill over, affecting not only the gods but also the mortals who depended on his light. "This must stop," Hathor whispered, her voice filled with quiet determination. Without hesitation, she turned from the grove, her decision made. She would not allow Ra's anger to plunge the world into chaos again. As she left the sanctuary and began her journey to the land of the gods, the sky darkened further. The rumble of thunder grew louder, echoing across the heavens like a warning. Ra's unrest was intensifying. The first drops of rain began to fall, cool and steady, as the wind picked up, whipping through the trees. Hathor quickened her pace, her resolve strengthening with each step. She knew what had to be done, and she would not falter. Her destination was the Divine Council, a sacred gathering place where the gods came to discuss matters of cosmic importance. The path to the council was usually serene, but today the winds were wild. They tugged at her robes and they billowed around her. Arriving at the Divine Council, Hathor found only Thoth and Mot waiting for her, their faces marked with concern. Thoth, the god of wisdom, was the first to speak. Ra's anger has been building for some time. Perhaps one of us can speak with him and calm him. Mot, the goddess of balance, shook her head. Words won't reach him, not this time. His temper is too great. It's disrupting the balance of the cosmos. His light is fading, and if it continues, it will be disastrous. Hathor looked between them, understanding the gravity of their words. And what of the others? Bastet, Isis? Will they help? She asked. Thoth sighed. They fear Ra's anger. None wish to face him in this state. Hathor nodded, undeterred. Then I will go. Ra needs to be reminded of the beauty he protects, and of the joy he brings. Music has the power to reach the heart when words cannot. Mot stepped forward and handed Hathor a small golden scale. Take this, a symbol of balance. May it guide you in restoring Ra's. With their blessing, Hathor left the council, her resolve unshaken. She would face Ra herself, knowing that only through harmony and love could his fury be quelled. Hathor began her ascent toward Ra's palace. The celestial path before her stretched endlessly, a vast and shimmering expanse of stars and swirling cosmic energy. Normally, the journey through the heavens would be peaceful, filled with the soft glow of stardust and the steady hum of the universe's rhythm. But today, the balance was off. The first sign of Ra's fury came as a blast of hot wind, sudden and fierce. It whipped through the heavens, causing the stars to flicker. Hathor paused for a moment, then reached for her sistrum. She shook it gently. The rhythmic jingling filled the air, weaving a soft melody that cut through the harsh winds. Slowly, the storm began to ease, the winds calming under the influence of her music. The stars steadied, their glow returning. As she continued her journey, the temperature around her grew stifling, the air heavy with Ra's unrest. The ground beneath her feet trembled, cracks appearing in the celestial landscape as if the very fabric of the cosmos was beginning to unravel. Hathor remained calm, though her heart ached for Ra and the pain that was spilling out into the universe. She continued to play her sistrum, the gentle sound restoring peace wherever she went. Along the way, she encountered other celestial creatures whose lives had also been disrupted by Ra's growing temper. A shimmering goddess of the dawn approached her, her face etched with worry. "Hathor, do you truly believe you can calm Ra?" she asked, her voice trembling. "His anger has grown too wild. We fear it may consume everything." Hathor smiled softly, her music never faltering. "I must believe it," she replied, her voice steady and full of resolve. "Ra is more than his anger. There is light within him, even now. I will remind him of it." The goddess looked unconvinced, but she nodded in understanding. "Be careful, Hathor. His fury could destroy you." Further along the path, a celestial lion crossed her way, its golden eyes glowing with unease. "Turn back, goddess," it growled, pacing before her. "Ra's fire burns too bright. You won't survive its heat." But Hathor remained resolute, her fingers still moving gracefully over the sistrum. "I will not turn back," she said gently. "Ra is not lost to us. He is simply forgotten. I will remind him of who he is." As she moved closer to Ra's palace, the disturbances around her began to intensify. The sky grew darker, and the palace itself, once radiant and full of light, loomed ahead like a shadow on the horizon. Hathor's heart ached at the sight. This was not the radiant sun god who brought life to the world each day, but a god consumed by his own anger. She stepped closer, passing through the palace doors, where the very air inside seemed thick with tension and heat. Ra stood in the center of the throne room, pacing with a fierce intensity. His eyes burned with molten light, and the flickers of fire that danced across his skin were a reflection of the turmoil within. Each step he took seemed to shake the heavens, his anger manifesting as waves of heat and shadow that rippled out from him. The sun god paused, sensing Hathor's presence. He turned, his blazing eyes narrowing as they met hers. "Why are you here?" he growled, his voice rumbling like distant thunder. Hathor remained silent, her expression gentle but determined. Without a word, she raised her sistrum and shook it gently. The soft jingling filled the air, cutting through the oppressive tension of the room. The sound, light and delicate, contrasted sharply with the fury that roared around them. At first, Ra flinched, his anger flaring. The storms outside seemed to respond, the winds howling louder, lightning cracking through the sky. "You think your music can calm me?" he spat, his voice still hard, though there was a flicker of uncertainty in his gaze. Hathor did not respond. She continued to play, her music steady and soothing. Each note of the sistrum was a reminder of balance, of harmony, of the world that Ra had helped create and protect. The melody rose and fell gently, like the ebb and flow of the seasons, or the steady cycle of day and night. Ra's pacing slowed, though his light still flickered with anger. He stood still, his breath heavy, as the music wrapped around him. The storms outside began to ease, the winds growing softer, as if they too were listening to Hathor's song. "You have forgotten the joy, Ra," Hathor said softly, her voice blending with the music. You've forgotten the beauty of what you protect. The world thrives because of your light, because of the love you bring to it. Let me remind you. Ra clenched his fists, but his fire dimmed slightly. Hathor continued to play, the notes weaving images in his mind of sunlit mornings, of green fields that stretched as far as the eye could see, of oceans that glittered under his light. She played of the joy in the hearts of the mortals who depended on him, who thrived because of him. She reminded him of the balance, the harmony that existed when his light was strong and steady. The storms outside began to dissipate, and the palace, once filled with tension and anger, grew still. Ra's blazing form softened, his light no longer flickering with fury but beginning to glow steadily, warmly, like the sun on a peaceful day. Ra closed his eyes, the storms around the palace finally fading into nothingness. His body shimmered as his light fully returned. His golden glow filled the room, bright but peaceful. The balance was restored. Hathor smiled gently as she lowered the sistrum, her task complete. You are the sun, Ra. Let them feel your warmth again. Ra's gaze softened, the weight of his anger lifting. Thank you, Hathor. You have reminded me of what I had lost. With that, the palace, and the heavens beyond it, were filled once more with the steady, life-giving light of Ra. Hathor approached the sun god gently, her voice soft and soothing. What has caused you such pain, Ra? She asked. What has brought you to this place of anger? Ra remained silent for a moment, his eyes distant as if searching for the right words. Finally, he spoke, his voice heavy with sorrow. They have forgotten me, he said, his light flickering slightly, though the fury was now gone. The mortals. They bask in my light, but they no longer honor me. Once, they prayed to me, gave thanks for the life I gave them. But now, he shook his head sadly. Now, they take it for granted. Day after day, I rise and shine upon them, and yet they turn away. It is a thankless burden, ruling over a world that no longer remembers the God who watches over them. Hathor listened, her heart heavy with empathy. She had felt this before in other gods, and even in herself this longing to be seen, to be appreciated for the light they brought into the world. She placed a hand gently on Ra's arm. I know it is difficult, she said softly. But you are not forgotten, Ra. Even when they do not offer words of gratitude, they still feel your presence. Every blade of grass that grows, every river that flows, every breath they take is because of your light. You are a part of them, and they are a part of you, whether they remember it every day or not. Ra's gaze softened as her words settled over him. But how do I continue, knowing they no longer look to the sky with reverence? Hathor smiled gently, her eyes full of wisdom. Even gods must find balance within themselves, Ra. You cannot let their neglect cloud the joy that still exists. The world may not always sing your praises, but the music of life plays on because of you. Your light is more than just power, it is warmth, joy, and peace. That is what you give, and that is what will always be remembered, even in silence. Ra looked at her, the weariness in his expression beginning to lift. You are right, he admitted quietly. I have lost sight of the joy in what I bring to the world. I allowed my anger to blind me. Hathor nodded, her smile never faltering. Even the mightiest of us need reminders, Ra. You are not alone in this. We all face moments of doubt, of frustration. But you are the sun you give life. Never forget the beauty in that. Ra sighed and then smiled. Thank you, Hathor. You have reminded me of who I truly am, and for that, I am grateful. Hathor held her small, beautifully crafted sistrum in her hand. She extended it toward him, her expression filled with kindness. Take this, she said, her voice gentle but firm. Let it be a reminder of the power of music and joy. When the weight of the world presses down on you, when anger begins to cloud your light, use this to remember the balance and harmony you bring to all of creation. Ra accepted the sistrum, his fingers brushing over its intricate design. He smiled softly, the first genuine smile Hathor had seen on his face since she had entered the palace. I will remember, he promised, his voice now filled with peace. You have given me more than a token, Hathor. You have given me back my light. With that, Ra's palace was once again filled with a steady, radiant glow, and the heavens above reflected the harmony that had been restored. Hathor, satisfied that balance had been returned, nodded with a smile. Ra was no longer consumed by anger, he had found his way back to the light. Hathor turned away from Ra's palace and made her way back to her sanctuary. As she entered the grove, her students were there waiting for her, their faces filled with curiosity and concern. They sensed that something had changed, though they could not fully grasp the scale of what Hathor had accomplished. She greeted them with a serene smile, her calm presence bringing immediate comfort. The video closes with a soft fade-out as the scene transitions to a peaceful landscape, perhaps a golden sunset or a serene celestial sky. The music gradually softens, and the last words echo the central theme, imagine love in its purest form, as boundless and eternal as Hathor herself. A final image of Hathor, radiant and compassionate, lingers for a moment before the screen fades to black, leaving a sense of peace and inspiration, inviting viewers to carry the essence of love within them.